In the dusty square of a North African city, a crowd of 4,000 people gathers, their faces etched with grief and horror. Among them is Melik, a local governor, who is about to face a fate so brutal that it will be remembered for centuries. As he is led to the execution site, calmly smoking his tobacco pipe, little does he know that the Sultan has devised a punishment that will test the limits of human endurance. This is the story of Melik's execution, a tale of power, rebellion, and the darkest depths of human cruelty. In late September 1705, Melik, a local governor known as an alcalde, was found guilty of plotting a rebellion against Sultan Muley Ismael, but his crimes didn't stop there. According to the Sultan's wife, Melik had taken advantage of the chaos and beheaded Bukasra, the Sultan's cousin. This was a grave offense, and the Sultan was determined to make an example of Melik. He wanted a punishment that was not only brutal, but also sent a clear message to anyone who dared to challenge his authority. The Sultan took his time to devise a fitting punishment. By October, he had an idea. He summoned his carpenter and asked if he had a saw capable of cutting a man in two. The carpenter confirmed that he did, and the Sultan had his method. He instructed the carpenter and the sons of Bukasra to select the tools they needed and to bring Melik from his cell. Meanwhile, the Sultan gathered a crowd of 4,000 spectators, many of whom were Melik's supporters and family. As Melik was escorted to the execution site on the back of a mule, the crowd was already in a state of turmoil, crying, screaming, and clawing at their faces with grief. Melik, unaware of the method of his execution, remained calm, smoking his tobacco pipe as he approached his end. Once at the square, he was strapped to a board, with his arms and legs fastened outwards and placed upon a saw bench. When he felt the teeth of the saw touch his skull, his composure broke, and he began screaming, straining against the restraints. But just as the saw was about to begin its work, the sons of Bukasra intervened, complaining that starting at the head would result in a death that was too easy. They insisted that the sawing begin at the legs to maximize suffering. The Sultan agreed, and Melik was turned upside down, and the saw was reapplied to his body, this time between his legs. The executioners began their grim task, with one man on each side of the saw, pushing and pulling the blade through Melik's flesh. The saw tore through skin, muscle, and fat, eventually reaching the bone, producing a sound that echoed across the square, intermingled with Melik's desperate screams. Blood sprayed everywhere, and the crowd covered their eyes in horror. As the saw progressed, it followed the spinal column, causing unimaginable pain, and when it reached the stomach, parts of the digestive tract dangled down onto the victim. Despite the agony, Melik remained conscious, his face caked in his own blood and entrails. When the saw reached his belly button, the executioners were instructed to stop, leaving him to hang and suffer for a while longer. Melik begged for water, but his request was denied. After what must have seemed like an eternity, the saw was removed and placed underneath Melik's head. The executioners began sawing from the other direction, intending to split him in two. Within a few strokes, Melik finally expired, but the horror didn't end there. Around 300 other co-conspirators were impaled alive, and 20 others had their limbs amputated with the saw. This brutal method of execution was not unique to Morocco or the 18th century. The Roman Emperor Caligula was known to use sawing as a form of entertainment during meals, and Imperial China also employed sawing as a punishment, typically sawing victims horizontally across the torso for a quicker death. Even in the 19th century, during the Hungarian Revolution, sawing was used as a method of execution. The execution of Melik is a stark reminder of the cruelty that humans are capable of inflicting upon one another. It serves as a testament to the power of rulers and the lengths they will go to maintain their authority. But it also highlights the resilience of the human spirit, as Melik faced his fate with a calmness that few could muster. As we look back on this dark chapter in history, we can only hope that we have learned from the past, and that such barbaric practices are relegated to the annals of history, never to be repeated.